Hello, my name is Don Nixon. I'm retired now, but when I was working, I was a project manager here on Parliament Hill. I worked with Public Works and Government Services Canada. And when I was with the department, I was responsible for the conservation of the Peace Tower. Today, what I'll be talking about are not my projects, not the politicians, but stories I've learned about Parliament Hill. And this is part of a 5-part series on stories about Parliament Hill. So, you want to have another story?
I certainly do.
Let's go. What a beautiful day, huh?
Lovely day. Perfect. Little festival weekend.
Are you a gardener? I have started a garden.
Good for you.
Yeah, that was one of my, besides the book, that's another retirement project. What we'll do is go through here and then we'll turn right, Sue.
All right.
And the story I want to tell you now is about the cornerstone of the Peace Tower. See the cornerstone there? These people, by the way, are all lined up waiting to get inside for the inside tour. The Peace Tower, maybe a bit of history first. You know, the original Parliament buildings burned down.
Yeah, I knew that.
February the 3rd, 1916, they burned down. And Public Works very quickly, almost immediately, began to build a new, this center block. And this was built between 1916 and by 1919 it was kind of finished. But in 1919 we started the Peace Tower, and that went up until 1925 maybe it was finished, but it wasn't inaugurated until July the 1st, 1927. But something else happened in that time. Between 1914 and 1918 we had World War I. So the fire happened right in the middle. February the 3rd, 1916 was right in the middle of the war. And in fact, a lot of people thought that our Parliament buildings got burned down because of sabotage, that the Germans burned down the building. At any rate, the story I want to tell you is about the Peace Tower. And we started building the Peace Tower in 1919, just after the war.
Yes. And
originally it wasn't called the Peace Tower, it was called the Victory Tower, because we were victorious in the war. And it wasn't until 1933 that the sentiment in Canada changed to one of peace, and so it's now the Peace Tower. There's a subtle change of philosophy. But take a look at the cornerstone. Can you read that? This stone was laid by
Edward, Prince of Wales, September the 1st, in this year of victory.
Finis coronat opus. Now that's a Latin phrase,
yes,
and that means the end crowns the work. So the Peace Tower is the end of this huge project, and it's the crown of the work. That's what the Latin phrase means. Now below that is 1919, and can you see how the 1919 is a different font, or a different, it's not the same, doesn't look the same as the lettering, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And that's because it was carved much later. The original cornerstone was carved when we started the Peace Tower in 1919, and the text that says 1919, that looks newer, kind of.
It does indeed.
That actually was carved the year I was born, in 1946.
Oh, you're giving your age.
Well, sorry, I'm 60, and what I'll do, I'm going to tell you the story of what actually happened here. Now, if you can imagine that, say you were one of the tourists lined up here before 1946. Okay, so all you would see is the text. And if I was to ask you, Susan, this cornerstone was laid by Edward, Prince of Wales, on September 1st in the year of victory. Now, obviously, it's with respect to World War I. Now, if I was to ask you, now I just told you when the World War I was,
yes,
and what would you say, offhand, would be the year of victory?
I would have thought 1918.
Everybody would have thought 1918. And this question was raised in the House in 1946. And a member of Parliament stood up and said, people are asking me, what is this year of victory? And the Member of Parliament said to the Minister of Public Works, what would you say is the year of victory? And the Minister of Public Works said, why, 1918, of course. And the member said, you're wrong. It's not 1918, it's 1919. 1918 was the year hostilities ceased,
Right.
but peace wasn't until the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. Do you see those little dots underneath the letter? Like, take a look at the word this. You see that little square cut into the stone?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, now look further down. This stone was laid by, now you see the little dots there.
Yes.
What do you think those are? Have you ever noticed them before?
I have not.
Well, there you go. What do you think they are?
I have no idea.
Okay, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
And now imagine you're here before 1946, okay? So all you see is the original cornerstone. And you have these little dots here. Well, if you took the letter above each of those dots, like the first dot is the letter I, right?
Yes.
And if you wrote that on a piece of paper, I. Then under the I you would write an L. You see where I'm getting the L? This stone was laid by.
Okay.
So you take the L and write that down.
Right.
And then the next letter you write down is an I,
Yeah.
and then a D. You see what I'm doing?
Yes.
Another D with Edward,
Yes.
another D at the end of Edward, and you keep doing that in a big column. Okay?
Yes.
And then against that you write the Roman, think of those as Roman numerals now, and write the equivalent. So I is 1, L is, I'd have to check my Roman numerals now, I believe. I'll have to read my own book. I believe that. I believe L is 50, but I could be wrong. C is 100 and so on.
Yes.
You write them all down
Uh-huh.
and add them up. What number do you think you're going to come to?
1919.
1919 is what you're going to come to. So the carver, whoever carved that original cornerstone, put a puzzle in it. He actually had the date. The year of victory is there, and it's 1919. So we didn't need to carve another 1919. All we need to do, really, was explain the puzzle.
Right. Of course.
So now, wouldn't that make an interest? See, these people have been lined up for a long time. Now they're going into the building. But while they were waiting, wouldn't that have been an interesting story to tell them?
It certainly would have.
Yeah, yeah. And that's my story about the cornerstone.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah. You know, if I had been around, well, I was around, but if I had been working in 1946, and somebody asked my opinion, Don, what the year of victory problem here? Nobody knows what it is. We got the dots, and should we carve the letters 1919 below it? I would say, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's a good idea. Let's keep the original cornerstone, and let's explain the puzzle better, because it makes a darned interesting story.
It certainly does.
Yeah. So that's my story on the cornerstone.
Well, thank you very much for that story.
Okay.